Hi, I'm Ted from Everything Attachments, and we're today at my house where I've had a garden for many years, but the last few years I haven't had a garden. I've really missed it. So we're going to put a garden back in. It's straight over grass. I can tell where the garden is. You may be able to tell. And then we're going to add 2 long strips out through here. We'll show you that, where we can plant corn or okra, something like that, to keep the western or the eastern sun from being able to be blocked from the whole garden. So we'll put the tall stuff on the strips, and we'll put our normal squash, cucumbers, and everything that we like to have up here in the square part where I've always had a garden. You can tell where it is because it's a little greener than the rest of it. So I'm here with Peanut. We're glad to be here with Peanut as always. This is our brand new B series tractor. It's a 3350 SU. It's a hydrostatic tractor. We got what most people don't get, which are the agriculture tires, because what we mostly do is pull things in the dirt, garden, things like that. Most people in general, and that's what I would get for the average homeowner, would get the R4 tire. Still pulls pretty good in the dirt, but you can do things on the turf, your loader work, take stuff there without tearing up your turf is bad. This is red clay here. It's Monday morning or Monday afternoon. We did get about a ½ inch of rain Sunday, but I think this is going to be a long way from being muddy. I think this red clay will be a little bit sticky, and that's where this particular moldboard that we designed in-house will really come in, because there's a cavity right here that you can't really see, and the way this kicks out. And so red clay, this will get, the more this gets slick and the more the paint gets worn off this, the better it's going to plow. So this cavity right here allows air to get under that sticky red clay and lets the cavitation break it away, so it'll roll on over instead of trying to just stick to the moldboard. Now, we make every piece of this plow in-house except for this share right here, which we buy from Empire Plow, a U.S. company, and we're glad to do that. Now, this is our new Land Shark line, and it's mainly only that because this particular one is orange, and this plow we've had for many years at Everything Attachments, and it was always built for a small compact tractor. So we really didn't have to make any changes on this plow. Still comes in industrial yellow if that's what you want. You don't want the orange. Or on the Land Shark attachments, you'll always be able to find it in orange. And it's just made for this size of tractor. We've got our stabilizer bars tight. Right now the plow is level, and we'll make our first pass with it level. And then as we get in the furrow, we'll recorrect with our side link here and get it level once the tractor is leaning. That way it'll keep everything going. So for any of the subcompact tractors, whether you have a John Deere, a TZ New Holland, any of the subcompacts, this is going to be still the perfect plow. We would have our BX here, but Travis borrowed it for the weekend and hadn't returned it, so we're going to use the B. We may take a couple passes tomorrow to add to this video if we've got time to put it on the BX, but it doesn't take that much horsepower to pull a plow. Once you get to the speed that you're able to cut through the ground good, and it's rolling over completely where the green turns to red and it's totally turned upside down, which the perfect time to have plowed this would have been in the fall. So this could have gotten turned under, frozen, loosened this old hard red clay up, and rotted that grass that's on the top side to let it become your compost. But we're stuck with it. It's springtime. We're going to pretty much have to go from plowing to planting here in the next week. So we'll also get done. We'll do the plow, we'll do the garden bedder, the cultivator, the planter, and anything else that I can think of that goes into what it's going to take to make the perfect garden with a small tractor. So we'll go ahead and get Peanut started. We're going to start and probably plow this square out first that we originally had. We're going to make it just a tad bit smaller since we're going to make 2 100-foot runs. We're going to make 2 runs, and then we're going to skip about 4 feet and make 2 more runs where we'll have some area to work the corn and the okra and stuff in between it. So go ahead and start where you normally used to, Peanut, and we'll see where it goes. The one thing that would definitely help on this size of tractor, does this have an up and down lift on it, Peanut? Okay, so this has an up and down lift. It doesn't have a position control lift. Now, you should have a knob that will control how fast this plow drops. Does this tractor have that? Wherever you drop it down, wherever you got it adjusted. Okay, so what he's gonna do He's adjusted it where it's, and the best way to adjust this is raise it all the way to the top, close it off like a water spigot, let the lift all the way down, and it won't go anywhere because you've closed it off. And then start releasing it at the rate you like it to fall is the best way to adjust an up and down lift. Now, position lift, meaning where you put it is where it goes every time, definitely is a plus for plowing and a lot of things, especially grading. But it's just not what most small tractors have. So this is an up or down lift, and the best thing you can have to add to this attachment to make plowing easy for you in tough conditions, especially when you've got sod on the ground, and this is mostly old wiregrass, which is tougher to get through than you think. The best thing we could have put on here would have been a gauge wheel and probably a coulter just to make everything work better. But this is what we got, and we're going to go with it today just to show you what you can do with the least, and the other two options just make everything better and easier. So I'm going to go to the back, just make sure all the adjustments are coming out right. Give me pitch the front down just a little bit. Looks like it ought to go down just a little bit to start with. The more you pitch the front of the plow down, the more it goes through this turf easier and the better it'll do. Once you get broken in well, you may want to back some of this out to keep it from trying to dip on you. You know what? Let me turn it to the side. Well, you're under it now. Once you get this sod off the top, everything will be a whole lot easier. That's good. So now I'm going to readjust this plow so it can be on an angle and it's not pitched down quite as much. All right, so let me change the angle a little bit. All right, you may take some of that pitch out of it, Peanut? So it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, turning it completely upside down where the sod is on the bottom. And so it's trying to go deeper and deeper because I've got the front pointed way down to get through this grass easily. I'm going to take a little bit of that out of it. Let me take some of that pitch out where it won't try to dive on you quite as bad. Come on down. So it's up to the very top of the share on the front of that, which is about 8 or 10 inches. That's where a gauge wheel would help a ton here. Okay, so we made 2 passes, and we should have come out here fully prepared to start with. We ran back to the store, which is only 2 miles away from the house I've lived in since I was 19. We went and got a coulter, which is going to cut this crabgrass, make it easier to pull up, make it easier on the tractor. It was blowing a little black smoke, and it was taking a lot of horsepower for what it really doesn't have to if you cut the grass before you go through it. And he was having to fight it just a little bit because it is an up or down lift instead of position control. So we went ahead and put the gauge wheel on it. We may have it adjusted a little bit high right now, but we'll adjust it, get it right where he can just make passes without having to do anything but let it down and go. So you're back in the groove. I don't have a clue where everything's adjusted at the moment, but we'll adjust it just like you would at the house. So the coulter's starting to go down in the ground now. It's splitting the grass really good. Are you all the way down? Let me go ahead and go down. You're deep. Okay, the wheel's starting to run. Let's try it. You're deep. So it's making it a lot easier for him to pull it now. It leaves a really clean line when that coulter cuts through there. That coulter just slices the ground like a big pizza wheel. It's a lot deeper fur than we had because he can control it better. Let me go down just a tad with the wheel. And on some tractors that have this internal stabilizer bars, you don't have a lot of play in there for some tractors. This tractor has a nice amount. And I'm gonna go with right there. Once you adjust this for your tractor and don't let the neighbors bar it, you shouldn't have to do this but one time. But we're doing it just like you would at home from the first time because I had no idea where to start. I'm gonna take a little of the pitch out of this too, Peanut. All right, let's see how that does. Coulter slicing it good, wheels on the ground. Perfect. If we don't get rained on here, we're going to be good. And depending on how big your garden is, if your garden was an acre, you'd probably start in the middle, start slight swings from different directions. You'd still be putting everything one direction, but when you're doing a small patch like this, it's just as quick and easy to back up and restart a straight row. You can tell that coulter on the front of it's just making it a lot easier for the tractor to make a pass. And if you've got a really viney area or anything worse than this, it just helps that much more. So he's not touching the lift lever, he's just putting it down and letting it ride on the gauge wheel. That particular gauge wheel, we looked at a lot of gauge wheels when we ran out from the supplier we were getting them from, and they're a big rubber donut. So after 3 or 5 years out in the sun, that's going to crack and fall off. So we didn't like that, so we went ahead and just fabricated out of an 8-inch piece of pipe, made our steel center, and made something that'll last you a lifetime. All right. So even though that's a compact plow, the actual moldboard that goes on the bottom is a full-size 12-inch plow, just like was on all the old Ford plows, double plows, triple plows back in the 40s and 50s. That's pretty much the model we went after. And it's doing exactly what it should be. The only thing I could do to make it a little bit better would be to take out a little bit of that pitch that it's got down on the front of it. I'll take out just a little bit more. As long as it'll stay in the ground, we'll be good. I'm going to take a little bit more of that pitch out of it, Peanut, and see if it'll still go in good. Let it down. All right. So we've got the plow adjusted perfectly right where the 12 inch, even though the share is longer than 12 inches, the way they're measuring it is the width from left to right. So it's a 16-inch piece put on an angle, but it takes a 12-inch path out. So if you can tell, it's starting to take some of the paint off the back of this, and when it's all the way down, it's running so level that it's cutting the right amount, and this is running somewhere between working on the wheel and up just a little bit, not. So that means we've just about got it perfect to where we want it. When it needs to roll on this, it does, and it's staying the amount of depth that we want it to in the ground. That looks good. So my shoe's an exact foot, and we're getting more than a foot of height here. You know, that's as deep as you need to be with this plow. It's leaving a perfectly flat bottom in the furrow before the next round gets piled in. That's just about perfect right there. So we're going to kind of put an edge on the garden here just to keep the water from being able to come out the lowest end real easy. Okay, so on the very first pass, it didn't go but about this deep, and that's because it was already set up for the tractor to be in the furrow, so the plow was way over corrected when it's on flat ground. So instead of going through all the adjustments, on the first one we just took off the grass, and now we're back in the furrow. Everything should be good. Now, this has never been plowed here. So tomorrow we'll try to get back in the ground. We'll try to get we'll try to go a couple more passes with the BX just so you can see how the same plow works on even a smaller tractor. We'll bring the rotavator with us, and we'll till all this up nice where it'll be good working conditions for the garden better. When I'm done, I like to be able to plant by hand. And now we will use, especially on this long row, we'll use a coal planter. But in general, I like to get the ground to where you can work it with your hands. Looks like we're plowing a little bit slow. That's actually about the right speed as he's going down through there. Once the ground lays over, as long as it's laying over, you can go a little faster, but if it starts going into the next furrow or going too far, you're just going too fast. So he's probably traveling around 5 miles an hour, 4, and that's about as fast as you want to plow without putting the dirt too far over into the next furrow. All of this land over here that my house was built on when I was 19 years old, it actually came from Peanut's family. Peanut and I have been friends for a long time. In 1983, my dad and I traded his father, Daryl, a new Ford 2310 for this 2 acres of property here. This used to be where they grew melons for a long time when his grandmother was alive. So we're getting a picture of the moldboard here, and we'll show you, and it's starting to get slicked up a little better. The shinier it gets, the longer you use them, the better they'll plow. And you can see Peanut's got it on a new row here, and right now it just looks totally jacked out of shape. It looks like it's leaning the wrong way, it's angled the wrong way, and that's because it's the first pass. So I could adjust everything back and get one perfect pass through the grass, but then I would simply have to readjust it back where it is once we make that pass. So we're just going to take the top off of it, then the tractor will get in the furrow, then we'll be back adjusted right. When you've got a plow that's basically not leaving anything to the left and it's pushing everything to the right, it's because that coulter's cutting everything and it's just doing the job that it's supposed to do. And everything's not adjusted to do this exactly, but I just want to put an edge on the garden and bring back in the loose stuff best I can before I start to till this. So Peanut may have to play with it just a little bit to get this right, because it's not normally what we do. It's going to be a rough ride across all that loose dirt. Every time those wheels pick up really high, it makes it tough for the plow to stay in. It's probably actually, the tractor lift is probably going all the way to the bottom, but just pulling it out of the ground because the tractor's going so high. That's as low as the lift will let it go, isn't it, Peanut? So there were a couple of times where the plow either wasn't running against the gauge wheel, but it was still cutting deep enough that it didn't really matter. And especially coming back when the tractor was riding really high, it barely would go in the ground. And that's because of two reasons. One, there's two sets of holes in these drawbars here. And if I move this pin to the front one, it's going to give it a lot more area to go down. Also, we just noticed there's a stop right here on the selector for the up and down, and it has some room extra that could have been moved down that would let the lift go a little lower. So between the two, we were still okay, but we could have been a little better. Tomorrow when we come out here, make a few passes with the BX, we'll make sure that we can set it down the full amount, and we'll show you that even a smaller tractor is still capable of pulling this full 12-inch size plow. So if you have any problems or questions that you'd like to know about before you go to plowing your area, give us a call or an email at Everything Attachments, and we'll make sure that you get the right plow for the size of your tractor. We have 3 other plows to offer: a full-size plow that uses that same foot with a 12, 14, and 16-inch share on it with a bigger moldboard that'll actually just let you take a bigger path at one time. The frame will be taller on a full-size plow. And then we also have a double plow that lets you do both even faster in the different sizes.